speaking of arguments, there's a lot of people who like to argue this time of year, especially, in the coming month, about what football player is going to be the football player to bring them to the glorious fantasy football championship.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I wanted to actually, I'm kind of stealing your thunder. This is your topic, right?
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
It was a good segue. Why don't you tell
Yeah,
us
it
a
was
little bit
very
more
good.
about this fantasy football?
So, okay, we all know that what are we, a month and a half, 2 months away now? I mean, honestly, I run a league, but so we're talking about
As
some
do I.
fantasy football here. You do?
Yeah. I run a
It,
league and I'm also in another league.
I do the same thing. See, great minds
Yeah,
right here.
exactly.
So, if everyone doesn't know, of course, fantasy football is where you create a team. There's a lot of different setups that people could have, but the basics are you pick a quarterback, you pick a running back, multiple receivers, a defense, and then a tight end, typically.
Right.
I'm not missing any. Oh, kicker.
Flex.
The and then a flex position.
You want to
Flex
explain
is
what? Yeah.
Yeah, flex is pretty much where you can. A lot of leagues, most of the time, it's a either a tight end, a running back, or a receiver that you pick, and it's just like a random, not random, but you can have any one of those be your flex player. It
Yeah,
could be
usually
multiple.
the commissioner can make this. You can
Yes.
have there's multiple different ways to slice it. People who are available for flex are quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and tight end.
Oh, you do quarterback?
No, no, no. I'm saying what is available to a commissioner to make this. You can
Oh,
you can have this. What most people do a tight end, wide receiver as a flex. I tend to do a running back, wide receiver, tight end, flex. I want to give you the options. I want people to come up with crazy different strategies.
you know what I do? You can only do receivers. That's it. I
That's
don't
not a
give
flex
you-
then. That's just another wide receiver.
Exactly. I give it just, hey, you get an extra receiver, and that's it.
Yeah. So the reason why most people have the reason why most people have multiple wide receivers is because if you look at the distribution of players across the 32 teams, you're going to have more wide receivers who are starting than running backs, right? You traditionally, up until like the last 3 years, you've only had one running back per 32 teams. With the average fantasy football league of having 12 members, you're going to get to
tough
one
pull.
running back per person. You need a backup at least, and that takes 24 running backs off the market. And if you really look at it, those last, what is it? What does that come to? Six? The last
Right.
six running back, they ain't getting you points. They're really
Yeah.
bad. So that's why you tend to have one running back. And then and the reason why you have multiple wide receivers is you could theoretically have 3 starting wide receivers per team. That's 3 times 32. I don't know, what is that? 96. So
Yep.
96 wide receivers at once. You could do the math. There's, you need 3. No, you'll have 2 wide receivers plus, you'll have backups for each one. So that accumulates to, what is that? 24 times 2. You're going to have 48. So,
It's a big pool.
it's a big pool, 48, but that's like half of what we said that what total was of wide receivers. So you still have a bunch of. That's why you have a flex potentially, because there's still really good wide receivers on the market. They get hurt a lot less than running backs. So you can have a good stable of wide receivers. My league does 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a quarterback. Okay, well, also, we only have like 8 to 10 people. So when you have
Okay.
less than 12, you want to bump up the amount of people in your roster, or you are left with a phenomenon of people who aren't picked are left on what's called a waiver wire. And
Right.
if you need to pick up somebody, like, it's just studs across the board. There's just like a bunch, and that removes a lot of the strategy out of the game if people on the waiver wire are really, really good and getting a lot of points, because you're not penalized for picking wrong or having someone get injured. So we want to definitely fill up your roster and leave the waiver wire with like questionable talent.
You know what? I just remember this. I did change up the abilities, and we have now flex in the one that I run. The other one I have is flex as well.
Okay.
But a lot of people, if you incorporate a quarterback into that flex position, really it's tough because those are your normally higher scoring point players. So to put in 2 quarterbacks could really weigh out the league. So that's why not a lot of people put in a quarterback that you can have as a flex.
I play a league The other league I play in has 2 quarterbacks.
Oof.
Yeah, it's
High
tough.
points then.
Well, yeah, I mean it's high points, but like I've looked into this. There's definitely a drop off in quarterbacks in terms of like, for instance, Luck and Rodgers 2 years ago were some of the highest scoring. They had like 400 and 300 points. The next highest one was a running back, and it was Lynch, and he had about 290, 300 points.
And I had him.
And you had him, right? But what's interesting to note is the gap of talent behind those top scorers. So yes, you had 2 quarterbacks that were nearly 400 points, but the next highest scoring quarterback was in the 200s, whereas the next highest scoring running back after Marshawn Lynch was still up there in the 250, 300 range. So
Right.
the density of points is really in the running backs. So it's I would say it's misleading to say that quarterbacks are the highest, because maybe 2 are out of the 32, but then they're not. Then they're just average, just like a tight end. It's Rob Gronkowski, and there's just the tight ends. Like the gap is enormous, and I'd argue if a tight end is really even worth trying to grab in the first round. So
If it's Rob Gronkowski, I mean, honestly, look at the points. He's pretty much
he is a middle of the pack wide receiver point scorer.
That's it, yeah.
So-
But I mean, if you think about it, though, that's one position that you can continuously have a lot of points generate. If you think about it, like on a tight end, you're happy if you get just, I mean, depending on the point system.
You're happy to get 4.
Yeah, you're just happy to get something.
And he
half
might be
the
getting
time.
you 12. On
Right.
really great days, he's getting you like enormous amount, like 15 or 20.
Right.
And that's fine, but you're taking him in the first round. What are you giving up in exchange?
Exactly. So that's where I come to you, Clay. Who would be your very first pick? Do you go quarterback? Do you go running back? Or do you go Gronkowski?
So, okay, so we're talking about football for fantasy football for dummies. So before we go into that, because that's a really good question, I wanted to make sure we covered everything.
Okay.
One of the big things we talked about is like why this is important to gaming and why gamers should do it. And I'd argue that it's a super fun, strategic gaming type of thing to do, right? It's taking football and it's gamifying it because it creates this RPG type of thing, right? Where because you're really interested in the stats because the stats equal points, and it's about synergizing your roster, which is to say like your
building
RPG
it.
team, right?
Yeah.
And that's all based off their opponents and those stats and those scores. So like if you're really a stat nerd and you have like and you're interested in it, like I would urge you to like seek out and play. It's so much more fun with friends. So if you have friends that do it already, take the opportunity to join. Don't be intimidated because luck is a huge part of this game. So I know that a lot of people are like, oh, but I would be bad at it and it would suck. And like, look, I've seen people win who don't even draft,
Right.
who have it auto draft and don't change their lineup once. And really all you need to do to play fantasy football, seriously, on the base level, is to draft,
Sign up.
sign up, draft, and then every week just look at and see if you have anybody injured or anybody on a bye, which is to say they're not going to play that week, and then change them. It is and so it's about 5 minutes per week to play this game, and then from there it's all icing on the cake. If you want to get even deeper into it, you can research, you can really start to like kind of dig into the deepness of it. But people who are crazy strategics can still lose to people who are just like nonchalantly playing. It's that much luck associated with it, but there definitely is like a method to the chaos. So,
I got a big question. Okay, so well, not a question, but closer to like statements. But in your leagues, is it like your friends, or do you have family, or what do you have typically in your league?
the one that I run is family only, and the
Okay.
one that I'm in is a bunch of friends from New Jersey.
Okay, yeah, that's actually kind of how I have it set up. In the league that I run, I actually just incorporated my mom.
Oh, nice! I tried that one year; it did not work.
Oh, my mom! It was hilarious because she got way into it, like way too much into it. And growing up, I played football for years. I played for like 9 years, so she knows the game, and she knows the positions. But it was just so funny because I'd get a random text message from my mom when we'd be going against each other that week. So in fantasy football, your roster goes against another person's roster, and it accumulates points, and whoever has the most points wins that week, and then you get a win or a loss, and that's how you kind of go through the systems and rank up against the people you're going against. So I'd get a random text message from my mom. I'm gonna kick your butt this week. It's like, oh, here we
Trash
go,
talking.
and that's her trash talking. Now, of course, within our little forum, my brother's like, I'm gonna kick your ass, and my mom uses butt, of course, and
Yeah.
and it's just so funny to see her really get into it. I thought, quite honestly, when I was creating the league, I bumped it up to 10 people. My original was 8. I brought in 10, and my mom was hounding me to join. I was like, okay, fine, whatever, you can come in. So I thought she was going to be a person that just drafted and never looked at it.
That's so cool.
And yeah, and she actually ended up getting second place, which
Wow,
sucks.
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I was pretty ticked off because she beat me, of course.
Yeah. So see, like that's like a perfect example. So like, yeah, she's playing, like she's like getting really into it, but like she knows the positions, but she's not like crazy like in depth, like I'm sure that to the level that you and I are. So like, and my dad's the same way. Like he got crazy into it. He had like just notes and notes and notes for the draft, and like just went nuts with it, and like plays the waiver wire, and like really gets into it. He won last year finally. He beat me in the Super Bowl, in fact.
Oh no.
But that was good. I'm glad that he won that. I've been to the Super Bowl twice now and lost back to back. So
Oh, no.
third year's a charm. I'm Buffalo Billing it, and I'm going to go in. Well, I'm not going to Buffalo Bill it. I'm going to
Yeah,
go in
yeah,
for the
I was
third
about
time.
to say, so
I'm
you're
gonna
gonna
win.
lose again.
Yeah, I'm going to win. But yeah. So do you use ESPN or Yahoo?
Actually, I use Yahoo for my league, and then I use ESPN for the one I'm in.
I like Yahoo. It works really well.
It does. Both, I think, have its pros and cons, quite honestly.
Okay.
I feel that Yahoo is easier to navigate. I
Mhm.
feel ESPN, though, has more content.
Hmm.
And really, like, I mean, both are going to have stats and everything like that, but I feel like ESPN just goes further into comparing things, really being able to see certain stats and
Really?
everything. Yeah, I felt that was better.
Cool. Yahoo does a thing where they turn your match into like a very strong narrative, and they're like, oh, the Claymores came in today and fought Ian's team, and they did this, and if only Ian would have played blah blah, would have had a chance, but in the fourth quarter, blah, like they take the stats and they storyize it, and it's really cool. I like the way. Anyway, point is that there's definitely a bunch of different avenues for you if you are starting out for the first time to go into ESPN, to Yahoo. I think those are the top two, and
they're easy.
and they're really easy to get started.
Yeah.
There's mock drafts that you can do. Like there's so much stuff that you can do to just test yourself and to explore and not necessarily like fully commit. There's also leagues that have money. If you're not into that, there's leagues that don't have a money entry. Like you can and usually money entry is like per you'd have to know. Like they don't do that online.
Right.
Online is just for funsies.
It'd be more like our leagues, like the people, and like, hey, everyone's throwing in $10 at the end, first, second, third, kind of thing.
I refuse. I do play the one that I play in is a money in, and what I do is I'm like, look, I'm not putting money in, but I'm also not going to take any money if I win. And what happened is I ended up winning, and I was like, yeah, I'm not taking. So give it back to everybody, or just give it all to second place, because like I don't put money in, therefore it's not fair for me to take it. So that's what we do. Like I just don't.
Okay.
I don't. So there's ways you can talk to people, and like that makes it interesting because people are like, oh, cool. So yeah, if Clayton wins, I'm not mad because I get my money back.
Right. So everyone's rooting for you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of fun. And then to answer,
go ahead.
I was going to answer your question, but that was going to get to the end. I don't know what you were going to ask.
Oh, basically, one reason why I wasn't wanting my mom to join my league is one stipulation is that you have to create a name for your team.
Yeah.
And in my league, it has to be a dirty name.
Oh, jeez.
Yes. So, of course, my mom created something really stupid and funny, actually, at the same time. But, like, it's just like these raunchy names. And I'm like, I don't want her to see these things, And, of course, when my brother is in my league, of course, David Fry.
David Fry.
That's right.
We got to do a July episode just for him.
And he literally gets the raunchiest names ever. So, of course, when my mom comes in, he amps it up even more. So I'm like, oh, God. So she comes in and she's like, who's this team? And I'm like, Mom, I don't want to hear you say that. Like, that's terrible.
That's awesome.
So, so do you do anything of that sort in your leagues, or just it's kind of...
Nope. I mean, people can make up their. I mean, I encourage everyone to like. There's some stipulations in that I want everybody to go into the draft because auto drafting kind of sucks for everyone involved.
Right.
I want you to make a name and come up with an image to put there. That's the one thing I wish Yahoo allows you to make a profile image, but it's so hard to see. I wish it was bigger.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah. Does ESPN have bigger like avatars?
They, the ones that I use are already pre-made, and they're bigger. I mean, because honestly, at work we there's a league, and it's so funny when you sit there and the league that I'm in, there's a few guys at work, and you could see what lineup they're looking at, like looking over at their desk. You're like, oh, he's looking at my lineup.
Nice. All right, so it's that big. That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really the only stipulation, and that's it. It's really cool. It's fun.
Well,
we do have a toilet bowl, so I've gone as far as I've bought a replica wrestling belt, and it's for fantasy football specifically. So it was like $200, but it was well worth it because you can take the plaques and you can engrave them and then just replace them for $9. So the winner, the Super Bowl fantasy football Super Bowl winner, gets that belt for the year, and the loser brackets loser. So the thing is that you can come in the last place in the regular season, and that puts you in a shitty bracket. But if you win in the losers bracket, you're okay. If you lose in the losers bracket, you will get a plunger, and with a permanent marker, I put your name on the plunger to forever to be remembered as the plunger winner. So we have the toilet bowl as well as the Super Bowl. So even the losers get something to fight for, and pray to the gods they don't end up being us. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to do was I wanted, and I've been failing at this for years now, but I wanted the winner of the Super Bowl fantasy football Super Bowl to not only have a belt, but then pick how we choose the order.
Okay.
For next year, I got that from the league.
Oh
TV
yeah,
series.
show.
So like, is it a scavenger hunt? But it's really hard to get everybody. Everybody has like, there's a lot of us have kids now, and like it's really tough to get everybody organized across 3 different time zones. So I don't know. I would hope that there's a way to do this, but it's been kind of tough. So
Well, and that's a good idea. Now, granted, we have in my one league, pretty much all of us here, but my brother's out of the state, so. To be able to do something of that sort, we just do a normal draft. It's a random oriented, but I always wanted to do something of that sort, where just like in a league where they sit there and they try to do all these cool inventive ways to figure out the order.
Yeah.
So, of course, when you're the first pick, you kind of have an advantage. I think the second pick, quite honestly, has the best advantage.
Yeah? Okay.
Only because you can sit there and go, okay, well, they picked this, so I can go ahead and counter it almost. I'm a very counter picker.
And that goes to the question you were asking me. You're like, okay, what is the best position? Blah blah blah. It used to be traditionally running backs, but my strategy is a dynamic one in the fact that like wherever you're picking, sans the first, you need to be reactionary. So if wide receivers start going off the board early, you need to pivot. If you stick with a strategy that says I'm going all wide receivers and like the top 3 go in front of you, and you stick to wide receivers, you're going to hurt yourself. So my last year's strategy was to be dynamic, be reactionary, and I really wanted Antonio Brown. Because my preferred strategy was to go wide receiver, or a quarterback in that platinum bracket that was getting me 500 points. Right, I wanted to hit all the platinum positions. I wanted to get the quarterback, I wanted to get the running back, and the wide receiver platinum before I went anything specific to fill up. Unfortunately, the platinum of quarterbacks and wide receivers both got taken. That left me with Le'Veon Bell and Eddie Lacy on the board, picking like second to last. So I was like, okay, I'm going to absolutely pick up Le'Veon Bell because he's going to be a beast. And
he was, but
he got injured. It's okay.
Yeah.
I had his backup. Then he got injured. That's why I lost the Super Bowl. And then it wrapped back around me, and Eddie Lacy was still on the board, and I was like, I have to take Eddie Lacy. Like, I got to pick him up because he was good the year before. He turned out to be a bust of a pick. But my point is that I wanted to go wide receiver, and what I ended up doing was going running back because in relative to what was left on the board, that was the best pick. So in my opinion, you should be reactionary, you should be dynamic, you shouldn't have one thing that you just are forcing yourself to pick, right? I also go kickers last. In fact, I probably don't even, there are cases where I just don't pick a kicker, and then I'll pick an extra slot and then figure out what kicker I want to take before the game.
Uh-huh.
I used to play defensive rolling every week. I would drop a defense, pick up the defense of the week, and then call it good. I've since changed my league to have 2 defensive positions because of that. Defense was just a joke, and I wanted to make that a little more methodical and important. So now we have 2 defenses, which means you need to keep them. You can't just drop them, and because they're so scarce now, it matters because what's left on the waiver wire is not that good.
So you have 2 defenses. Do you take something off of the offensive side?
I can
or
just add.
just okay.
Yeah, I just add
Huh.
a second defense, and now
That's
you
pretty
have to-
interesting.
yeah.
Well, okay, so now going to that kind of end of the spectrum, how late did Tom Brady go in your league last year?
Like 7th round, 6th round.
My-
I was kicking
yeah.
myself in the butt because I was like, I could go Tom Brady, but I was like, I got my eye, I look for sleeper picks specifically with
Yeah.
quarterbacks because people jump so heavily on quarterbacks early, like Drew Brees and like Manning and all these other things, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I can get a good quarterback because, like we talked about, that platinum to gold
Right.
gap is huge, but that gold to silver is not that huge. And there's a
Right.
plethora of quarterbacks in that position. So I went Ryan Tannehill, and I went somebody else. Oh, Sam Bradford. I had a hunch that Sam Bradford was going to play in the Eagles' heavy offense and was going to do well, but he didn't because Chip Kelly's an idiot, and it just didn't pan out. Same thing with Tannehill. Laser
In
was just not
Miami,
that
yeah.
not that good. So I had an opportunity to take Tom Brady, and I didn't, and that was stupid because the person who took Tom Brady also had Gronk, and they shot out of the gate the first couple of weeks and just did really well. And I was like, oh my God, what did I do to myself? So
Well, what's so funny is I picked him up in the 5th round.
it's a
And I
great
was like,
pick.
you know what?
It's such
Yeah,
a good
and-
pick.
And who did I have as my primary? I had Rivers. So I had Rivers. I'm like, oh man, I got a great quarterback.
Yep.
Now I got a good backup that I just
Yep.
have to wait a few weeks. And literally the next day is when the big headlines came out, that he wasn't suspended anymore.
Yep.
And literally everyone in my league was just like, actually, I got Tom Brady in
Yeah.
both my leagues, and everyone was just like, what the fuck? And just screaming, and oh, it was great. I was like, ha ha ha.
Yep.
And he did great. I didn't have Gronk. So every time I went up against my father in my league, he had Gronk. And I was like, oh, Tom Brady's going to do great. He's like, so is Gronk. So
Yeah.
it's a tough matchup when you have a great quarterback and a great receiver, and one has one and one has the other. So now, kind of going towards that whole aspect of gaming, what positions would you say if you were building a character? Who would be your helmet, like building armor and all that kind of stuff?
Oh,
What would
yeah,
be
yeah.
Your sword. What would be?
So
Basically, okay.
I know that I don't understand this analogy.
Okay.
Maybe you can go first. But
Okay, so-
because I look at it more of as like a team. Who's your tank? Who's your mage? Who's your that
Okay,
kind of thing?
that-
But maybe I'm wrong. So like I want to hear what your thought is with the armor analogy.
Okay, so like your sword or your weapon would be, I would think, like a quarterback.
Why?
Your shield,
Narratively
because-
speaking, or because
just positions compared to what the piece is supposed to do for you, I would imagine. So quarterback touches the ball every play, every single play.
yeah.
So they're going to be your weapon.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because the weapon
So-
is traditionally the first thing you want to upgrade or invest in.
Right. Running back. And see, this is where it gets a little difficult. Okay, so would a running back be like
There's
a helmet?
Maybe.
Okay.
So shoulders maybe are like the more rare thing. I could see running backs like it's a weird narrative because it's really just all about offense. There's not even really like like you have a defense, but the defense
Yeah.
is making points. It's not stopping someone from having points necessarily. So
But I think defense would be like your chess piece because it's protecting your vital.
but that's wrong too because the chess piece is got a ton of like the HP stat, right? Like it's really the base and
Exactly, a defensive item.
but that's narrative. That's narrative. Like that's not necessarily indicative of like truthfully a defense is like your bracers. And maybe your
Okay.
kickers your bracers. And like
Yeah, they're just
and,
like, okay, I need that.
no.
but-
Your kicker's the ring. Your defense are the bracers. You know what I mean? Your flex is the cape. And then, you have your your triforce of helm, chest, and legs, maybe, or boots,
Receivers.
and that would be your wide receiver, running back, tight end.
Boots would be receiver for sure.
Why?
Because they're supposed to be quick, light.
So are running backs.
Yeah, but they're getting hit so much they have to. I'm telling you, man, their shoulders.
Doesn't make any sense. It's barely there. I'll give you that, but this
Okay.
is a bad analogy.
So let's go towards yours. Okay, so like your tank, your mage, and you're building a team.
This doesn't work either. This doesn't work either because yeah, okay.
Who would be your healer?
Exactly. It doesn't work.
Defense?
It doesn't. It just doesn't work. Basically, you're making an RPG of like of all thieves or like all of one class, and you're tweaking that class to do maybe it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
A mage is a quarterback for sure.
It doesn't. No, I would think they'd be the tank. They're like the core. I don't know. That's not true.
Defense would be your tank.
Okay, we're done. This isn't it. This is not working because it doesn't make sense. It's just
one point,
different.
I'm gonna
And
bring
if
this
people
back.
are expecting, if people who play games are expecting to come into fantasy football to play like that, they're gonna be disappointed. It's not that, but it's certainly. It's again. You know what it is? It's like playing. When you raid and you're looking at your DPS meter. It's
Okay.
like how do I build a set of people who are going to? It's basically mages and rogues. How do I make a team of 8 mages and rogues do the most DPS compared to the other group of someone controlling another group of rogues and mages, because there's like slightly different roles and dynamics, but at the end of the day, you're looking to see who has the most points, right? And they're all contributing. It's all exponential, right?
Yep.
So it's not even about like counters and passive stuff and like really role based either. Like, yes, in football they have different roles, but it all comes down to like who is making. It'd be interesting if you can construe or remake the fantasy football into more of a battle between the two, because it's not even a battle. You're just saying, I'm going to watch this group of individuals and you're going to watch this group of individuals, and whoever actually makes the most points will win. Very rarely do those group of individuals actually have any bearing or influence on the other group of individuals' points, right? Unless you were playing a quarterback on one team and the other guy's playing the defense on the other team. Then you have an actual battle and you're rooting, right? But usually that does not happen. And it would be really cool if you could figure out a way to make that happen.
So now you bring up an interesting point. Fantasy football brings out a lot of emotion, a shit ton of emotion.
Yeah.
Okay, and not only that, of course, Clay. I'm sorry, you're a Titans fan.
I've been getting that a lot lately.
And of course, I'm sorry for myself. I'm a Bears fan. So when I sit there and I love football. I've always loved it, and I sit there and watch it. But like last year, I had Cobb, a receiver for the
So did
Green
I.
Bay Packers. So I'm sitting there watching the Bears and Packers game.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
absolutely hate the Packers.
Yep.
But it's
You have
just
to
like
root for Cobb.
Cobb catches a touchdown pass. I'm like, yes, but son of a bitch, sucks. You know, I'm like, it's such a weird feeling sometimes.
Luckily, I have that exact same feeling. Luckily, the Titans have been so bad that I don't care. I end up just rooting for whoever's on my fantasy football team. I feel like that's going to be changing pretty soon because look out, the Titans are definitely going to be Super Bowl contenders very, very soon. We're also
Give it
coming
2
up.
or 3 years.
We're also coming up to the end of this topic. Do we want to give our top 12 players very quickly?
Okay.
And compare them? Just quickly compare them.
Okay, I'll let you go first. I got to pull mine up here for a second.
My top person is Antonio Brown. Wide receiver is going to
Okay.
make a ton of points. He's not going to get injured that much, so he's going to be consistent. And the Steelers have a better O-line, and so injuries should be less severe. I think Antonio Brown is the number one character that's going, or number one football player that's going to give you points. He's going to bring you to the playoffs alone. It's about surrounding him then with enough talent to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
My second one is Andre Hopkins. You can see a theme. It's wide receivers. They don't get injured that often. They stay consistent, and they're also bringing in a ton of points. Hopkins had nobody to play with last year. He now has a better quarterback, a better running game. The O-line suffered a tiny bit, but he also has a better surrounding cast. I think he's just going to get propelled into Antonio Brown territory. Third up, Odell Beckham. Boom, 3 wide receivers in a row.
Off
That's
the
right.
bat?
I think that Odell Beckham is going to benefit from the surrounding cast around him. Eli Manning and the rest of the group have only gotten better. They have a new coach, a fresh new system, less tape on that system. They're going to come out with swinging, and I think he is definitely a person that you want to get. Next, AP. Another theme is consistency. In fantasy football, you do not want the spikes of the 1 week to lure you into a trap of 5 weeks of no points. AP is consistent. He'll get you 10 points. Minnesota had to adjust their offense last year with AP coming back. They now have a whole year underneath him. I think they're going to really find a groove coming out of the gates, and they've only improved since last year.
Not many people might know who AP is. Adrian Peterson.
Sixth is Todd Gurley. He was the rookie last year for the Rams. I have him this low and this far behind far behind AP and Bell because he teetered off last year. People now have tape on him. I don't think he will be as explosive. They have a rookie quarterback, which means the pressure is just going to be on him. It's basically a continuation of last year, and I didn't see him necessarily explode at the end of the year. He kind of was a little injured, so we'll see how that goes. Seventh, David Johnson for the Cardinals. I think he could potentially be pretty good, so we'll see how that works. Dez Bryant is coming up at number 8. I think he'll have a bounce back here with Romo healthy. The line solid. They have running backs now with Ezekiel Elliott. They have a couple more wide receivers in their core. I think he has a chance to really come back and have a rebound year. Next up is Devontae Freeman. I believe that is the Atlanta running back that he exploded last year. Actually, might want to put him above David Johnson, but we'll see about that because Atlanta has some questions on offense. Number 10, Allen Robinson. This is a great wide receiver over in the Jaguars. The Jaguars are going to be crazy good. Their defense is going to get their offense back on the field, and their offense is really clicking right now. They have Chris Ivory on running back, so the running back improved. Their O-line is getting better, and they have Allen Robinson, and they have Blake Bortles, who are really connecting a lot, and he's going, I think, really show himself to be a great person to pick up. You'll notice that I have left Julio Jones out till now. He is behind, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers, and this is because Julio Jones is a flashy pick in name only. Everybody falls into the trap of picking Julio Jones thinking that this is his year, this is when he's going to be really good, and every year he consistently disappoints. He comes out the gate really strong for 2 games, and then it's just downhill from there. He'll get you 8 points, 7 points consistently, and then maybe flash 12 and then go back down to 4. I don't trust Julio Jones. Clap and praise be to the person that you praise when someone in front of you picks Julio Jones, leaving someone like Allen Robinson available for you, because you will benefit in the long run, trust me. Last to round out the first round is Jamal Charles. He's coming out in ACL. It's a little bit of a risk. However, if he comes back, which he has had plenty of time to heal, he should be a good pickup, and because it's risky, he's going to bring him down at the end of the first round when he traditionally, remember, is a first overall pick. So if you can get him for the last pick in the first round, he's dropped 11 spots. You're getting a first overall talent in the very end or beginning of second round. It's a great pickup. So that is my picks.
Very nice. I like them.
Yep.
You had some really good ones there. I go a little bit of a different route on my 12 here.
Okay.
You started out with a shit ton of receivers. I just think there's too many receivers out there that you can pick up some and still get by. I think the first thing off is traditionally, of course, a running back, and I think Bell is my first pick. Great running back, does really well. I'm kind of torn between him and Gurley, so I'd pick one of those two right off the bat.
I had both of them last year, and I lost the Super Bowl.
Well, that's because late, Bell got injured, came back, and then got injured again, or slightly injured, right?
He was just straight up injured.
Yeah. So Gurley, of course, he came out.
Yeah, but he started falling off at the end. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Now, I would probably go Adrian Peterson over him. But, okay, so my number one I'm going to say is Bell. Great running back, very fast. I mean, literally, if he gets the slightest crack, he's gone. So my number two, I have to go with a powerful tight end and say Gronkowski. I mean, that's literally having a great... The points he puts up are so stupid.
That's stupid. No. Okay, I'm sorry. You didn't do this to me, so I'll let you go.
No, that's fine. So number three, you got to go with quarterback, Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I think he did great in coming off last year. he's going to be explosive and doing his thing again. I think
Totally.
that their offense knows what they're doing with him, and I think he'll put up some really good points. So next has to be JR. I mean, if you really think about it, the junior, you know what I'm talking about.
JR.
Yeah, Odell Beckham.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think he's just getting better
Over
each
Antonio
year.
Brown?
Only because on the Giants, dude, he is the Giants receivers. Now, I mean, Antonio Brown, if you think about it, you have can't think of his name, the quarterback,
Ben Roethlisberger.
Roethlisberger. Yeah, he has a few other talents, and not only that,
Okay, fair.
I mean, think about it. You got Bell in the backfield, so yeah.
that's
Granted,
a good
Brown
point.
does put up points. He does.
Yeah.
But I think Odell Beckham is going to be more of a target for the Giants. He's going to be their guy. You know, he's going to be a very heavy tool.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, that's really interesting because there's. Okay, we got to wrap up. But
Okay, that's
I
fine.
have some thoughts.
So, then I go to Hopkins.
Nice.
Of course. I think you got to get start loading up on your receivers. Next, I would say Bryant. So at that point, Des Bryant, another great receiver. Have him in up on your list there. And then I'm thinking Jamal Charles. Did great in KC. He put up some crazy points, got injured, and I think he's going to come back with a vengeance. Like he is going to be that offense. You have Smith in the backfield, who's another great player, your quarterback. But at that point, I would say my next pick is going to be a defense, and you have to go with Seattle's defense. Repping their
defense in
city
the
there.
first round?
Oh, no. Oh, I thought we were going through our picks that we're going to go through each round.
I just did top 12 of the first round.
Oh, my bad.
So this is
Okay,
cool.
so-
People get to
Yeah.
hear my top 12, and people get to hear your top picks
My-
of each round. So that's great.
Exactly. So each round, this is kind of like what I'm thinking there.
Okay.
So let's see here. Then I'm going to go with the kicker. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
You think AP is going to drop to the second round?
I think so.
Wow. I play with a bunch
Well-
of Minnesota Viking fans, so that's probably why.
That's probably why. Yeah, right there.
He goes like number one overall.
Really?
Yeah, it's funny.
Oh, jeez. Ingram, great running back.
Ugh, hate that pick. Go ahead.
I know you do. The only problem is that at that point, I think it's going to be scarce on running backs. So
That's a good point.
I think I'm at 8 or 9. So let's see here. I would then think everyone has to go with more running backs because that's going to be people getting injured and everything of that sort. So if it's available, Forte, now he's with the Jets. So I think him going to a different offense and using him as because I mean honestly the Jets, you had Fitzpatrick and everything, he did great, but having Forte in the backfield, it's just going to really explode that team. Then you could always go a backup quarterback, maybe like Russell Wilson or Andrew Luck. The only problem with Luck though, Andrew Luck,
Backup quarterback. You're talking about starters.
oh yeah, I know. But if you're thinking about like an 8 or 10 man league,
In the 8th, 9th round, Andrew Luck and Wilson are
yeah,
going to be gone.
they're gone. Yeah,
Luck's going in the first round.
yeah, I think he would. But I'm saying like if you could pick up a backup, who would be a great backup?
Ryan Tannehill would be worth thinking about because now he has Gase, and Gase made Cutler look amazing, and Cutler's traditionally looked like crap for the last 4 years.
No.
Don't pick Cutler for that matter because he doesn't have Gase anymore. Another interesting backup would be Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick, if he gets signed back on the Jets, he would be an
Carr.
interesting candidate.
I think Carr. I mean, he did good last year.
Yep, Carr would be great. Carr would
Yeah.
be great. Blake Bortles.
Bortles. Actually, I think he's close to a starter. Honestly,
But he's a
is-
sleeper, and he can be
Yes.
taken as a starter in the backup round.
true.
And then, I think Roethlisberger and I think what's his face from the Cardinals is going to get picked up early too.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well, that's pretty much my picks and everything. So.